What is up, my Diablo 4 gamers? Today, bringing you a little build guide on Sorc, one of the best early endgame Sorc builds. Say you just rushed through the story, you were leveling up with Chain Lightning, and now you're trying to kill shit in Tier 2 world, and you're kind of struggling. No worries, I was in that same position. This build, though, it's just LASH, man, but honestly, it is, even after the nerfs, still one of the strongest endgame builds for Sorc, both early and late game. So I'm going to be just briefly going over some stuff here. What do we want to do first? I guess first off, we should probably look at the skill tree. So starting off with the skill tree, LASH is very simple build. Take that, why not? Very simple. You want to max out LASH, pretty self-explanatory. And then we take enhanced LASH and glinting LASH. I'll explain the idea behind the build kind of as we go. So obviously this is sort of the bread and butter. The whole idea around LASH, you stun enemies a lot, and you get a bunch of bonus damage to enemies that are vulnerable, crowd-controlled, stunned, etc., etc. So we kind of build around that, and that's sort of the LASH build. So this ends up being quite a very safe build, coincidentally, even though it is a melee build. So that's going to be our basic. We head on down here to the core skills. We put 1 point in charge bolts, enhanced charge bolts, destructive charge bolts. We do not put this on our bar. Again, we put this, we skill this, and we skill these two enhanced nodes for our ultimate skill, which I'll get onto later. Then that's it for the core skills. I do have a point into Chain Lightning, but that's from my item, so I don't actually have a point into Chain Lightning. Down here in the defensive tree, definitely want to put a point into Teleport. Enhanced Teleport reduces the cooldown and reduces it even more the more enemies you hit. And then Shimmering Teleport, you gain 30% DR after you teleport for 3 seconds. Very good. We're going to be using Teleport often, as it will stun enemies around us and provide us with damage reduction. Always good. We're also going to want to put a point into Ice Armor, and then we're going to want to take Enhanced Ice Armor and then Shimmering Ice Armor. Again, just a good defensive ability that we're going to have up a lot of the time due to our build and our cooldown lowering. Next up, we're going to want to take 1 point into Frost Nova. It says I have 2 again, but one of them is coming from an item I have equipped. Enhanced Frost Nova. Very good. Self-explanatory, kind of. You're kind of seeing a theme here. Anything that reduces cooldown or stuns, generally we take it. And then Mystical Frost Nova makes enemies vulnerable. Again, 6 seconds against bosses. Vulnerable, always good. We do a lot of damage against vulnerable enemies, stunned enemies, crowd-controlled enemies. We want that. Then we take 3 points into Glass Cannon, because Glass Cannon is just broken. Yeah, you take a little bit more damage, but you do significantly more damage. Very worth. I have a point into Elemental Attunement. This is just because you might as well. It's a pretty good efficiency for 1 point spent. It'll either reset your Ice Armor or Nova. Both are pretty nice resets to just happen, so you don't have to, but I do. Then we head down to our Conjuration skills. We take Lightning Spear. We get Enhanced Lightning Spear. Again, after critically striking, Lightning Spear gains 5% increased stacking crit chance for its duration. Let me just go in here so people making a lot of noise trying to kill stuff. I'm not about that. I'm trying to make a video here, guys. Sorry about that. Let's go back to Conjuration. Where were we? Conjuration. Like I was saying, we're taking 1 point into Lightning Spear, and then we take Enhanced Lightning Spear. Lightning Spear stacks crit. The longer it's up, the more it crits, the more it crits. Yes, you heard that right. The more it crits, the more it crits. The old stacking loop. And then invoke Lightning Spear. Lightning Spear stuns enemies for 2 seconds when it crits. Again, synergy with our build, very good. Also take 1 point into Align the Elements, just so we can get to the node protection. Using a cooldown grants 30% of your max life as a barrier for 2 seconds. This is where a lot of our survivability comes from, as we are constantly spamming cooldowns. I will do a small demonstration of the build at the end here so you can kind of see what I mean. The best part though, this build requires no special gear, no special aspects, no uniques, nothing like that. It just works immediately after hitting 50. I switched at 50, but you could probably switch a bit earlier once you have all the skill points. Then we go down here to Mastery. Again, I have a bunch of points in these skills. These are from items. The skills that we want points into is going to be 5 points into Ball Lightning. You can leave it at 1 point if you're missing points. So you can leave it at 1 point, but max it out later because Ball Lightning does a lot of damage. Then you're going to want Enhanced Ball Lightning. And then you want Wizard's Ball Lightning. We're also going to want Static Discharge. And then 3 points into Shocking Impact. Again, does more damage every time we stun an enemy. You're kind of getting the gist behind the build. Then we go down to Ultimate Skills. So here, we want to put 1 point into Unstable Current. This is kind of the piece de la resistance of the build. Prime Unstable Current increases your attack speed. Supreme Unstable Current, Crackling Energy continually pulses and consumes no charges. Pretty good. And then you're going to want to put 3 points into Coursing Currents. These are just skill point dumps. You can leave it at 1-1 until you have enough skill points, but in the end, you want to max them out. And then key passive, you want Overflowing Energy. Crackling Energy hits 1 additional energy. Each time Crackling Energy hits an enemy, your shock skill cooldowns are reduced by 0.1 seconds, increased to 0.25 seconds against the leads. Again, very, very powerful, and you can kind of see how this build works. And I'm not going to get too deep into the sauce with Paragon, but early on for the Paragon, the easiest thing to do is to just put the control glyph inside your Paragon board and get all the dex nodes, because control makes us do significantly more damage. You can see here, it gives us damage to crowd-controlled enemies, which is literally what this build is designed around. And then for every 5 dex we get, we gain more increased damage to crowd-controlled targets, and once we hit that extra requirement, we also gain damage to slower chilled enemies, and we gain increased damage to stunned or frozen enemies. So you can kind of see here, we get a lot of free damage because our build scales off of stuns and whatnot. Now that's enough talking about that. For aspects, again, like I said, you don't really need anything to play this. You can immediately swap with no gear whatsoever, and as long as you have the skill points, the build will work. That's the whole point behind the build, which is why I like it, and I think it's one of the best early endgame builds, and it ends up being one of the better endgame builds for Sorc as it is anyways. For aspects that you do want, if you have them laying around, things like this, you gain increased armor for 4 seconds when you deal any form of damage. Very good defensive aspect. Basic skills grant 20% damage reduction. That's another good one. The imprinted ones I have here. Lucky hit chance, 20% with barrier. Basic skills gain attack speed. I have nothing on my focus. Deal increased damage while you have a barrier active. Distant enemies have an 8% chance to be stunned when they hit you. That's irrelevant. The part we like is you deal 38% increased damage to stunned enemies. Again, more damage scaling. And then you deal 20% increased damage to vulnerable enemies when you have a barrier active. Again, very good. You can kind of see what I mean. I have these two twice, and obviously the higher effect gets affected. But like I said, my gear is not even close to perfect. I'm just showing you that even with this ragtag assortment of garbage, the build works very nicely. So for skills on the bar, you basically don't put any of the other skills on your bar. except for Arc Lash, Unstable Currents, Lightning Spear, and then the rest are going to be your defensives and utility. You Frost Nova, Ice Armor, and Teleport. And then I'll kind of show you how this build works by doing a Moggen's Works run. This is one of the best ways to get EXP and loot in the game right now. I'll link the description. I'll leave a link in the description to the video I made on this place and this farm if you want to look more into that. But the gist of it is you run around here. There's giant elite packs. You kill the elite packs and then you remake the game. So we're just kind of looking for them. If we can find them here. Here we go. Here's the big elite pack. So we're going to pop all our abilities, Unstable Currents, and we are just going to go in. Things absolutely melt. And we are in absolutely no danger of dying whatsoever. We had tons of DR rolling. We have tons of armor because of Ice Barrier. We have tons of percent armor stacking from our imprinted aspect. This build just comes together in a symphony that works perfectly. Looks like we only got one elite pack. But you can kind of see here what I mean. This build works incredibly well. Would highly recommend you guys swap to this Arc Lash build. It is one of the best early endgame builds. And I'll leave it there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoy the build in the comments below. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. Leave a comment down below again. Let me know how you feel about the build. And subscribe if you want to see daily uploads on just video game related things. We're covering ARPGs mostly right now. Primarily Lost Ark and Diablo 4. Alright, see you all in the next one. Bye!